Hello everybody, and welcome to NorCal Slot Car Scene. After attending the slot at Nationals at Electric Dreams last week, when I returned home, I had to turn right around and go to Monterey and Laguna Seca Raceway for the Rolex Monterey Motorsports reunion. The Rolex reunion is one of the premier vintage races in the world. This year, there were also slot cars there as well. The reunion features multiple classes. I arrived on Thursday afternoon, and the cars in pre-grid were the TransAm group. TransAm is typically one of the largest classes at this event, with over 30 cars entered. The action is hot and heavy, as you can see this AMC Javelin exiting turn 10 and heading into the hairpin at turn 11. There are quite a few cars with an extensive racing history at the Rolex reunion, including the Sunoco Camaro and the factory Javelins. The Cougar and the Challenger are also available as slot cars from Scale Electrics. The Formula One class doesn't have the sheer numbers of the TransAm, but the cars are amazing, including cars that were driven by Jody Scheckter, Martin Brundle, and Mario Andretti. One of my favorite cars of the weekend was this Lotus 78 that in the day was driven by Gunnar Nelson. There was also a Niki Lauda Ferrari, as well as the Tyrrell that you saw before. The feature at this year's reunion was the beginning of the 100th anniversary of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, so there were quite a few historic cars that raced at Le Mans in the day, from the 917 to Ferrari GTOs and Ford GTs. The picture on the left I call $100 million worth of Ferraris in two cars. There were a couple cars you don't often see on the historic circuit, including this Porsche 356, which is the first class-winning Porsche at Le Mans, as well as the Cadillac Le Monster, which finished 11th in the 1950 24 Hours of Le Mans. You can't celebrate Le Mans without Porsche, and here you see a 917 and a 9083. The 935 on the lower right is the car driven by Rolf Stommelen, Dick Barber, and Paul Newman. When you think of the current day Le Mans, you realize Toyota has dominated for the past few years, but the first Japanese manufacturer to win Le Mans was Mazda with the 787, rotary powered. Cars that raced at IMSA are always represented at the Rolex reunion. Here's Bruce Canepa's Porsche 962C exiting the corkscrew. If you saw my previous video on the Electric Dream slot at Nationals, you know that the Jaguar XJR10 dominated, and Zach Brown of McLaren brought his XJR10 out to race with all the other Porsches. BMW had their V12 Le Mans car, as well as a Decon Monza. Some of the other cars there you can see are the Interscope Lola T600, a Panos Roadster coming up into the corkscrew, as well as ex-Jack Roush Mercure, and a four-rotor Mazda RX-7 GTO. If you've never heard a four-rotor Mazda, you're in for a treat if you ever get a chance to see one and watch it race. There are always a lot of interesting cars that are at the Rolex reunion. This Ferrari Daytona, I saw one similar to this race in the 1970s at the 24 Hours of Daytona. The Ragtime Racers are a group that maintain and restore these amazing cars from pre-1920. When I arrived at the track on Saturday, it was kind of fogged in and we had to delay the racing for a bit, but the Formula Junior race was one of the best races of the day. You can also see here a blue Alpine, a Cooper Monaco, and a Ford Anglia, just a few of the variety of cars present at the Monterey Motorsports reunion. One of the best races of the day was the race for GT cars from the late 60s. This race featured a battle between a Lotus Elan 26R and a Ford Cobra driven by Ford CEO Jim Farley. In addition to all the full-size action on the racetrack, there was a slot car set up in the vendor area of the Rolex reunion. Alan Smith from 132 Slot Cars US in the Tacoma, Washington area set up a 4-lane polycar track that allowed people to test their skills with slot cars. Alan's polycar track was damp just like the full-size circuit, but after it dried up, the track got a lot of action. Kids of all ages were there to try out slot cars probably some for the first time, and even the adults joined in on the fun. Alan set up 4 Revel slot Mini Coopers and had 6-lap races for everybody that attended. It was a lot of fun.
Get set, go. Oh, he jumped up to an early lead. Oh no! I'll put you back on.
That's it from the Monterey Motorsports reunion. Thanks for watching. This is Jim Rose with NorCal Slot Car Scene.